We are live on the Virtual Grip Network, and once again, we hop in the DeLorean to travel back to 1966 for this season's YesterYear Tour Modifieds, where some of the best Tour Mod drivers will compete for one of the most prestigious and unique titles on the iRacing platform, the Old Red Boot. I'm Zach Chapman, aka Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, the Institution, aka J.R. Shepherd. We're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of EGN bringing us all the sights and sounds, the one and only Ryan Seneker. Now, after a long summer break, the YesterYear Tour mods are back for round 8 with the Camden Classic. But before we dive any deeper, let's do a quick recap since we haven't talked since June 3rd at South Austin. Tom Ogle rolled into Sobo looking to widen his points lead, but contacted the lap car while leading would lead Tom to limping out of town with a 4-point lead. This allowed Scott Negus to put on his extra set of tires, which helped propel him to his first victory of the season. Will Scott be able to go back-to-back, or will the man in P2, Mr. Todd Liston, find a way to get his first win of the season? Let's find out as we're about to go 100 laps around the Stafford Motor Speedway. When we ran this race back in 1966, the race was full of bent-up race cars as the event saw 5 cautions in its 100 laps. Pete Corey took the lead on lap 16 and never looked back as he brought the checkered flag back to Waterford, New York. Jeep Herbert came home P2 while Carl Stevens rounded out the podium. Now, JR, I have no idea what order they're going to come home in tonight, but I do have a feeling we're going to have some people leaving with their feelings hurt. What do you got to do tonight to put yourself into a good spot, man, and leave here comfortably?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in my opinion, this is a great style racetrack for this car. You know, this place is a half mile, only banked around 8 or 9 degrees, but I do think that the name of the game tonight will be carrying the momentum through these long, flat corners. And there's more than one way to get that done here. So, some drivers, they really like to hug the bottom of the racetrack through the corners, while others prefer to run more of a diamond line where you enter low, allow that car to move up a little bit in the center, and then back low on exit. That allows you to get a straight exit as you apply that throttle, and that will be important here tonight. But those variations in the racing line, I think, is what's going to open up passing opportunities on the racetrack, but it might also lead to some contact out there like you spoke about. So, Shaggy, these drivers are going to have to stay on their toes tonight if they want a chance to win here at Stafford, because contact will be made through these corners. The racing gets tight, and drivers seem to come together, like I talked about, right in the center.
Yeah, and JR, arguably, I'd say the best passing opportunity going on right now, qualifying. This may be one of the more important tracks we come to all year. Is I think track position, you know, they say it everywhere, track position's king, but man, it really is here at Stafford.
It's going to be tough. I mean, if you start midfield or further back, it is going to be tough to make passes. Now, it can be done. You can do the passes here, but it's going to be difficult. So these cars, they have a lot of horsepower, around 600 horsepower. When you come up off of this corner and you apply that throttle, you get wheel spin. And the problem with trying to make that pass on a driver, even if you're faster than them, is you get a little bit anxious trying to get that throttle applied back down coming out of the corner. And then that's when you get a little greedy. The car either spins out on you, or you get loose, go up, correct it, make contact with that driver you're trying to pass, and cause an even bigger mess on one of the straightaways, which we have seen here at Stafford in the past. And that's important because a lot of times we don't see that caution come out if there are wrecks on that front stretch.
Now, we had highlighted who the top 3 was there in the intro, but let's go ahead. Let's pull these points up real quick. We've got about 20 seconds or so here until the drivers should start the grid. And you see Tom Ogle coming in with that 4-point lead over Todd Liston, 5 over Kenny Allen, 6 over Brian Johnson. I mean, any one of those top 4 tonight could leave the point leader here, JR.
Yeah, very, very easily, because like I said, the contact will happen at some point tonight, whether it's intentional or not, and messes occur here. So we do see, like I said, in a lot of instances where we will have contact made, spins toward the inside of the racetrack, and there will be no caution. If that happens to you, you lose tons of track position, and that's all it'll take for you to lose that points advantage that you come in here with.
Well, 18 drivers set to take the grid here for 100 laps. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the front row. Brian Bianchi, quick time to his outside. Points leader, Tom Ogle.
Rolling off in third place tonight, we got Ken Allen on the outside, that 27 car, Brian Johnson.
Row 3 to the inside, Chris Davis. To the outside, Todd Liston.
Inside row 4, we got the 6 of Luke Logan Allen. On the outside in the 30 car, Gavin Adams.
Jerry Isaacs lines up to the inside of row 5 to the top shelf, Brian Neff.
Rolling off in 11th place, we got Alan Wanamaker. Outside in 12th, Jeff Lemire.
Row 7 to the inside, Torrance Childs. To the outside, Scott Negus.
Rolling off in 15th place, we got Randy Schuler in that 31 car. Outside in 16th place, that's Bruce Pearson.
And row 9, rounding out the field, the Viking, Dustin Martinson. To the inside and to the top shelf, the Lipper, Chris Hazlip. Is, hey, we got through that pretty good. Car's just starting to roll, man. You know, these drivers may take a minute or two to get back into it, but we're already there, JR. We're ready to go, man.
It's exciting. Been off for a long time, and these drivers, they're going to be anxious. So it's going to be interesting to see how this start goes, because they've not had to race around each other for a long time. They're going to have to get reaccustomed to how each other races, and the give and take that's going to be required to get through some of these longer races. I know we only have 100 laps here tonight, but the next couple of races, you know, they're 250 plus lap races.
No, and, you know, we were talking a little bit before the program got going. JR, you were saying about how you can make passes on the inside, but it's going to be tough because you're going to need that outside. Now, that being said, how nervous are you if you're starting on the outside here and you got guys under you with cold tires? I mean, it could be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, absolutely, because the one thing about these Tour mods is that they have a lot of rear weight. So that rear weight usually tends to get you free on corner entry, especially when the tires are cold. And that's what we're about to see right here. These guys, they have cold tires. These cars are going to be slipping and sliding around. So, yeah, if I'm one of those outside drivers right now, I'm going to feel a little bit vulnerable. I'm probably going to give some extra space.
Well, defending champion Brian Bianchi set to drop the hammer. We're underway, 100 laps to play at the Stafford Motor Speedway. It's going to be important here. Can Bianchi clear Ogle? It doesn't look like it here. Battle for the lead, and the 13 might have prime real estate here, JR.
Yeah, the outside is definitely where you're going to be able to carry momentum when you are side by side with another car. Ultimately, when you're single file, you're going to be right around the bottom or moving up a little bit right in the center. But you can see turns 1 and 2 is where it really shows Ogle can get a good run here. But Bianchi, that was a power move down on the bottom of 2.
Yeah, I think the 13 was kind of running that cut down after overdriving 1 and realized, hey, I'm coming down a little too far. I had to crack the throttle, and now Bianchi leads the way here as they're battling behind. I believe is that the 6 of Luke Allen and Brian Johnson battling here. And then, of course, my favorite paint job, that 60 of Brian Neff, that Winn-Dixie machine rolling in the basement right now. And right now, Brian Johnson, he is sinking to the back here, JR. He's having some early woes.
He is. There are some opportunities, but you can see how difficult it is to get this throttle down. This is a very difficult track to drive in a higher powered car like these Tour Modified. So he's having a lot of difficulty getting that power down. Right now, the best thing he can do is just be patient. Even if he falls back to the back of the pack, it's better to have that car to race with than something that's dinged up and going to make a long night for you.
Obviously, you know, JR, you're one of the best at saving tires. You're going to need to do it here at a flat track. But at the same time, you know, we all know that there is that tire fall off. Is there a certain lap here, if you're Tom Ogle, where you want to make the pass by, let's say, lap 50? Or are you okay riding for a long time and you think you can save enough grip for the end? I mean, how's it going to work here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. If I'm not in the lead, I'm okay with going as far as 3/4 of the way through this race, lap 75, before I really start to push the issue. The big thing, I'm not going to be too worried about front tires. You are going to heat that right front up a little bit because you're putting a lot of pressure on it on corner entry. but it's not going to be significant enough to cause major wear, major handling woes on you. I think the name of the game is going to be saving that right rear tire, keeping that wheel spin down to a minimum when you exit these corners, because you're going to have that forward drive if you want to make a pass. And like I said, if I'm not out front, I'm taking care of that rear tire right now, so I have something that I can push hard and work with at the end of the race.
Now, genuine question here, JR. Can you just save that right rear by, like you said, working that throttle, being Ave, coming off the exit? Or can you maybe go the opposite of what I ask you about a lot? Can you dial in front brake, or are you too worried then about abusing the right front tire?
Yeah, I don't want to dial in too much front brake. It's definitely something I want to do. I talked about these cars being free on corner entry because of the rear weight that they have. So you do want to run some front braking to keep that rear end from breaking loose, but I don't want to run a ton because I don't want to overheat those front tires. The biggest thing that you can do to save those tires is to run that diamond line that I talked about as far as the rear tire and get more of a straight exit up off of the corner. If you do that, you can apply the throttle better and still maintain some speed up off the corner to keep those drivers behind you from being able to make a run themselves. So that's the big thing. You got to save these tires, but you still have to go fast enough that those drivers behind you are not trying to make a run on you.
Right now we're riding along with the guy second place in points, Todd Liston. He knows he's got a decent run going right now. He's running 8th, but when you look up and you see Tom Ogle, the point leader, running 2nd, I mean, the pressure's on. I mean, we're at race number 8 here, JR, 15. So, I mean, we're over that halfway mark. It's drivers going to start feeling the pressure here in the point standing.
Yeah, they are. They know that at this point in the season, you know where you stand. You know what you're going to have to do to try to make up points if you're behind. You also know what you kind of need to do if you're ahead in points. But with Todd, he's a driver that I know him. He's not going to let those points bother him or dictate how he runs a particular race. He is always a driver. And you see that gap up to Brian Neff? That's not because Todd is slow. That is because Todd is managing the tires. He knows what he needs to do to have something at the end. And he's always a driver. If he starts mid-pack or further behind, you'll see him run there most of the race. And in those closing laps, that's when he'll start making passes because he took care of his stuff throughout the race.
Now, you know, drivers who do take care of their stuff, JR, do you think we'll see them try to make runs on the outside, or do you think there'll still be enough grip left in those tires to get it done here late in the race on the bottom?
I think there'll still be enough grip to get it done on the bottom. But when you have that tire advantage, you're going to go wherever the driver in front of you is not. So if you can get to their outside, you're going to try to get out there, and you're going to be able to easily make that pass because the people with worn tires that have abused them, they're not going to be able to keep that car down on that white line at the bottom of the track. So it will be an easy pass if you've done your job.
So there, Alan Wanamaker tried to work around Gavin Adams. He got to the inside, but just couldn't get the run off at 2 and had to fall back in line, and it kind of chunked up the guys behind them. Scott Negus tried to make a move on Lemire as well, but just couldn't do it. And right now it seems like, JR, a lot of the guys just kind of, you know, submissive here, going to run where they're told unless that guy in front maybe makes a mistake.
Yeah, and that's ideal. I mean, that's the name of the game. Oh, we see Gavin getting loose coming off of turn 2. He does one of those spins down to the inside of the straightaway. We talked about this in pre-race. This does not bring out a caution, and in return, he's going to lose tons of ground trying to rejoin here. So this is a common deal here at Stafford. If you spin to the inside without making contact prior, you will not get a caution. And he just got loose on his own. It looked like Allen had to check up behind him. Made some slight contact as Gavin was going around, so that may have hurt Allen's momentum down that straightaway there. I didn't get to see if he got past or not.
And all of a sudden now Gavin, he's got a roll here because you remember, JR, we're at 1966. There's no lucky dogs or waiver rounds, so if Gavin, who is now only a straightaway ahead of these leaders here as we see someone else go around, the 19 of Martinson, it's going to get this thing rolling, but Martinson is going to go a lap down as you see the leaders roll by. And now the Viking, he's going to need a lot of help. He wants to get back into this one.
Yeah, and that's going to be tense times for those drivers that are on the lead lap when they see these drivers rejoining because they've got debris, they've got dirt on their tires. They're not going to have anywhere near the grip they had before they spun. and in return, they're going to be a lot slower on the racetrack. And these guys that are on the lead lap, they're wanting to stay bunched up as well as possible. So you see this group here, they're all on the same straightaway. That's your goal. You want to be saving your tires, but you don't want to lose sight of the leaders. So any breakup that is caused by a lap car rejoining, that can cause big issues for you at the end of the race if we don't get a caution, because that's the thing. We're very likely, with the way that this track is on the iRacing service, that we won't get a caution. It could be a full green flag race.
Yeah, whereas, if we're running a Saturday night short track right now, we've got 2 cautions already, but they're letting them continue. They're going to let them play. And here, Gavin Adams getting out of the way on the inside. But the caution flag did come out as there's a wreck in turns 1 and 2. And was Gavin Adams ahead of the leaders here when the caution flag came? This is going to be the question here. Because if they were, Merry Christmas here for Gavin Adams. Does he make the whole trip? He does go around. He's good. Good, man. Yeah, that's well rewarded there, JR. He's getting out of the way. He sees the leaders coming. He wants to do the right thing. Then he gets rewarded with getting back on the lead lap. That's the way it should go.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect the move he did there, and he got rewarded for it ultimately. So we look back at this replay. We see Bruce Pearson on the inside of Martinson. He's the one that rejoined, and we talked about this. So he rejoined with some debris. In return, he's a little bit slower. He's also trying to do the right thing and get out of the way from these other drivers that are on the lead lap, and he just got a little too high. You can already see some of those marbles accumulating on the top of the racetrack right there, and if you get too high, this car is already free on corner entry. This thing will come right around, and that's what we saw with Martinson on the top side there.
Well, so far, it doesn't look like seeing any takers down pit road as we roll through the top 8 or so. And, once again, 1966 unlimited rubber here, JR. If you're outside of the top 10, I got to think you're going to come down and get tires, right? But nobody really coming down except 2 drivers, Alan Wanamaker and Randy Schuler.
Yeah, at this point, it's still a little early, but if I'm one of those drivers that have had some type of misfortune, I think, we spoke about Alan a little bit earlier. I think he had to check up when Gavin went off and in return lost some positions. So, yeah, if you're somebody like that, absolutely come down and get some tires. You're going to have some advantage. But the one thing about these modifieds is that if we don't get tons of laps on the tires, we don't get an extreme amount of tire wear. And in return, the tire temperature is what's more important than anything in these cars. So this caution is allowing all of those drivers that are on the racetrack to cool their tires back down. And they're going to be running laps just as fast or faster than what they did on lap number 1. So it's more important about tire temperature, but absolutely, if you're somebody that's kind of gotten behind in this race, come down and get some fresh rubber, because it will pay dividends if we go green the rest of the way. Those last 10, 15, 20 laps, you'll have an advantage.
Well, as the pace truck pulls off, we get ready to go back to action here as Bianchi drops the hammer. We're back underway. 71 laps to go here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Man, I can't believe I just looked at that, JR. We're on lap 30. This thing is clicking off.
It is. It goes by fast here, and that's the thing. So we talked about saving the tires, but I also touched on you don't want to lose touch of the leaders. You've got to be close enough to make your move if you've saved enough rubber to make those passes. You can't be way far behind. The laps, they go by fast here as long as we stay green.
And I guess that's got to be the argument here for not coming down pit road, just trying to hold on to that track position is Gavin Adams. He's going to fall back to the tail end here. Whoever is running P4, I believe that's Chris Davis. He had a big shot off the outside wall coming out of 4. He was able to hold on to it. But, JR, I'm not sure if you caught that. Man, you got to watch banging these tires there. Open wheels off the wall.
I saw it. That was quite an impact. It looks like he got away with it. So he's very lucky on that. But, yeah, you can very easily damage that right front suspension. And in return, this car will not turn when that happens. It's going to either toe in or toe out that right front wheel, and the handling is going to be completely different, mostly through the center of the corner. So where the other drivers are able to carry the speed, you're not going to be able to. It looks like Chris got away with that one. And we see right here some drivers doing some unique racing lines, and I like that. If you've got the gap between the car in front and the car behind you, try some different lines, see what works and what doesn't work, and you might just find something that the other drivers haven't.
Yeah, if you're mid-pack, like you say, you got the gap. You might as well experiment. You never know what you'll find out there. And Negus, he's up 5 spots. Currently the hard charger. Definitely not the qualifying effort that the 29 machine wanted, but he's got a little race pace, and he's coming up behind someone pretty familiar here, that 87 of Todd Liston.
Yeah, absolutely. So this bunched everybody back up. We talked about that gap that Todd had earlier. He doesn't have quite that gap now. I am kind of watching him. He's being very smart. And, you know, we talk about him saving tires, but I also think he's leaving that gap because he knows of the calamity that might happen ahead of him. So he's leaving some room so he has a way to get around any of the action that happens ahead as well, because he's already fallen back 2 or 3 car lengths.
Yeah, you know, speaking of calamity, I mean, Tom Ogle was leading June 3rd there and ended up getting caught up in a lap car spin. And I think, you know, with the way the 13's driving right now, JR, he may remember that, just be like, okay, it's a good points day. I'm not really going to force the envelope here. He just seems to be riding pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and that's what happens during a full season, a long season such as this. So you're going to do the risk versus reward scenario. You're going to say, is it worth trying to make this move? Even if you're faster, you feel like you can go up there and pass that guy, is it worth doing it and creating yourself a big issue? You make contact, you spin out, your race ends up being over, and you lose tons of points. So any driver that is racing for points is going to have that pop into their head. Now, sometimes drivers are able to put that to the side and just go race like it's any other race, a one-off race, and they want to win. But at the end of the day, you got to be thinking about points if you want that championship at the end of the year.
Man, Tom driving it in so deep there to 1. You can see the run. Bianchi gets center off, pulls away a little bit. But you know as well as I do, JR, if you're Bianchi, you got to focus out that front windshield, because if you start looking up that rearview mirror and you see him entering in real deep behind you, man, that can really throw you off your game.
It can, and you know, I like what Brian is doing here. The line that he is running, he's been very consistent, and the line he's running, he's taking care of his equipment, his tires. He's keeping them right in that operating temperature that he wants. Behind, you talked about Tom, he's really charging the corner, and if I'm Brian, I'm liking that, because eventually you're going to see Tom start to fall off. He's going to get a little bit overheated on his tires. It's not going to turn as well. He's not going to have the grip that Brian has. So Brian's smiling right now as long as Tom is not able to get to his back bumper. Now, if he gets close enough to get to his back bumper, that's when you start getting really uncomfortable. And like you said, it's very easy to try to change your line, and in return, that's when mistakes are made. So it's very difficult. I cannot tell the viewers at home how difficult it is. When somebody's putting pressure on you like this, you have to focus forward, and it's the most difficult thing in the world to just stay focused on what you're doing and forget about what those drivers behind you are doing.
Yeah, it truly is, and it seems like Chris Davis may have just suffered that fate as well. Kind of gets a little too focused on the car behind him, overdrives the entry to the corner, and now there's a big gap up to 3rd. Does it leave Luke Allen enough of a lane here to try to make a move? No, because P3, Ken Allen, goes around to the inside. We got 2 cars involved. No caution. Ken's having to sit still here. Not too sure what Ken's going to be able to do. Pulls back up on the racetrack, gets it going. But here come the leaders entering turn 1 right now. So, boy, oh boy, tough break for P3, Ken Allen.
Yeah, big, man, that's a lot of trouble for Ken. He was running great. He's been a driver that's consistently been up front in this league. And, yeah, I see what happened there. It looked like right about the time where he's starting to touch that throttle, he just barely touched the apron of the racetrack, and that kind of de-wedges the car, makes it really free, and it just slipped right around on him. And in return, Jerry Isaacs was trying to avoid, and he had to go off track and lost a ton of track position too. So those are 2 drivers that are going to hope that we get some cautions, because that's the only way that they're going to get back up here and be able to make some passes.
No, and as I'm kind of doing some investigating here, we've got guys pretty much spread out here, JR. I mean, the lead, they're pretty close up there, the front 2, but if they behave, I don't know if we're going to get a caution flag here.
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing, is when you get something odd like that incident that we just saw, it tends to spread the track out. I'm laughing because I'm watching on screen Brian Neff, and Luke Logan, they're really hanging it out right now. I think they kind of see this opportunity because things have spread out. They're going to go try and fight for position. So they're really driving their race cars right now. But those accidents where we don't get a caution, it spreads the field out. When you get that spread of the field, you tend to not get a caution. And we're, right at halfway. We just completed lap 51, excuse me. So this race, it could stay green unless we get something odd happening.
Oh, Tom Ogle saw a little bit of a gap there on the exit of 2. He throttled that up, JR. He almost lost it. He was able to save it. But boy, oh boy, I mean, even P2 isn't safe right now from a deadly spin here. This track is slick, and the longer we go, the lighter the rear end of this car is going to get, JR. It's just going to get worse and worse.
Yes, it is. You're continuing to put heat into these tires even when you're trying to take care of them. So the tire temperatures are slowly coming up. The track surface temperature right now is over 100 degrees, 104 degrees here right now. So this track is super slick around here. And these drivers, they're going to continue to struggle with it. And that's where I like when you're that lead driver, because you can kind of set the pace, take care of your equipment. If you take care of your rear tires, like I spoke about, you can still make something happen. But if you start trying to charge too early, you're going to overuse those tires like Tom did there. You're going to slip them a little bit. And once you slip them, the tire temperature comes up even further, and that condition continues to get worse. So you've got to be very calculating on the moves that you're going to make and when you're going to make them. You cannot overuse that throttle. You see this battle, it's continuing to heat up. Tom fell back a little bit, cooled his tires off, and now he's making another charge.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see. I mean, right now, Brian Neffy is in 4th place, but he actually, it's minuscule, but he is quicker than these 2 guys up front. So if he could get a caution, be neat here if he could get up here and play with these guys. But, man, Bianchi, it looks like right now, JR, he is doing everything he can to hold off this 13. And, man, we got a long, long way to go.
Yeah, we do. And Brian, he's starting to enter a little bit lower, especially through turn 1. I think you'll see it again right here. Yeah, so he puts his left side tires right on the apron, on the entry there. That time he got loose. He got some contact from behind, but we've got a caution out, so he's going to get saved by that, allow his tires to get cooled back down.
I'm thinking Randy Schuler here, from what I'm seeing on the software. Let's see. Well, yeah, it just gets a little loose there. Let's see. Does he do it again? Yeah, just enters a little high. Gets up in the, you can see those little bits of rubber, JR. He's just about half a lane up too high. And, man, Jerry Isaacs almost gets it again.
Yeah, and Jerry's had some rough races, so he definitely did not want to see that happen. He was able to skate by on that. But, yeah, you saw Randy Schuler there. He got a little bit loose coming off of turn 2. You see him sliding that rear end right there. He goes back up to the top side of the track. That allows Allen to get underneath him. So Schuler tries to go in on the high side, and I think the natural thing is that you think when you're on the high side, you can carry a little more corner entry speed than that guy that's on the bottom, but that's not true here at Stafford, especially in turn 3. And like you said, if you get too close to those marbles on the entry of 3, car's going to come right around on you.
So other than those guys who came down pit road, that first time, obviously they weren't going to come down, Alan Wanamaker, Brian Johnson. But from Negus on back, he was running, I want to say, in 7th place. Everyone came in and at least got 2 right side tires. Some guys, it looks like, still on pit road. They were going to get the 4 tires here, JR. But, this is going to be close. Is somebody coming off pit road? Are they going to beat the pace car here? Because, as well as I do, getting 4 tires in these things doesn't always work, but, Gavin Adams just beat it.
Yeah, 4 tires at a track like this is definitely a gamble because the caution laps go by quickly. And with the way that this pit road is shaped, it kind of takes a long time to get in and out of your pit box. So 4 tires is a little bit of a gamble. I definitely come in and take 2. And to be honest, I don't know that 4 tires are going to have much of an advantage over the 2 tires. Your left side tires are not going to get a ton of wear here.
Let's see, Scott Negus currently running P10. If it was worth it here, if he can at least get back up to 7. I saw Tom Ogle. He bluffed coming down pit road, trying to see if he could get any takers, but nobody would go. So he stayed out there, and he's got to feel pretty confident. I mean, right as the caution flag flew, he was laying the bumper. to Bianchi as we roll into 3 here for the final time. We're going to have 37 laps to go here. As the green flag waves, we're back underway. Good start there for the 14 of Bianchi. Tom Ogle, it's going to take him a lap or 2 here if he wants to set up another move.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing they're going to have to keep an eye on is Chris Davis right behind him. Looks like he's going to fall back a little bit, but Chris will be aggressive. He'll make some moves on you. He doesn't care if you were leading the race or not. If he sees an opportunity, he's going to go for it. It looks like those front two are going to be able to pull away and get back to what they were doing before this caution came out. So right now, they're trying to get back into their groove and what they were doing. You see Tom continuing to try to make a look down the straightaway. He's doing anything he can to make Brian change the line that he's doing. Just hoping that Brian makes a little bit of a mistake so he can get up and underneath him in the corner.
Yeah, Luke Allen hoping Chris maybe does overdrive a little bit here so he can sneak by 2 guys. Just clearly got some speed, but those guys just stuck in line. And right now, I think we've seen, JR, you mentioned the tires can cool off here as we got the 5 down to the inside, but once again, no cautions. Torrance Childs gets back on the racetrack, and we continue. That's what guys like Scott Negus, they need. I think you want to take advantage of those new tires as he works to the inside of Wanamaker. You need this thing to stay green.
Yeah, and so what we saw when Torrance, I believe it was Torrance Childs rejoined the track, there was some debris that was kind of coming off of his tires, so that's from the grass and from the dirt. So iRacing's update, you absolutely get that debris on the racetrack, so it could potentially change how the cars handle the next time they go over that surface if there's grass or debris out there. It wasn't a ton that came out, but if you hit the track at the right time, you will notice a handling difference and be like, why did the car do that? Because you don't realize that there's something on the track. Now, when you're on the road courses, you do get a flag letting you know that track conditions have changed. You don't get that on the oval, so the track conditions are constantly changing right now with any of that debris getting thrown up, but also you see all of the marbles starting to accumulate. They're getting darker and darker at the top of the track. That's going to start limiting the line that you can actually run through these corners without losing grip.
Nothing scarier than seeing that red and yellow flag coming up over a hill, JR. You don't know where that debris is and dirt. You just close your eyes and hold on here. So maybe it's better that these guys don't get the warning flag. They just get it by surprise.
It's definitely better. Otherwise, like you said, they'd all be freaking out just a little bit inside the car. One thing I wanted to point out when we was riding on board with Bruce Pearson there, not just the marbles at the top of the track, but you can see when we get back down into turns 1 and 2, there are marbles on the apron right there as we ride on board with Scott. Oh, and Brian Neff goes around in the center of the corner. It's not going to bring out a caution, but he spins to the inside. But there are also marbles down here on the apron, and some of the drivers like Brian Bianchi, he was trying that inside line early in the race. That's going to start to become limited because if you hit those marbles, your car is going to slide across the track and actually shoot up the track a little bit. You're going to lose grip. And right here's the replay of Brian Neff going around. So he was actually trying to make a pass on Luke Logan Allen and may have had to check up a little bit there and spun himself in the process.
I'll tell you what, JR, I know I just talked about him a couple laps ago. I don't think he's got the time to get to the front, but that may have been a race-saving move there for Scott Negus coming down and getting 2 tires. He's already up to 6th here, 1 spot before he came down pit road. And looking at listing ahead, he is slipping and sliding. That 29 is locked in, and he's got a handle right now that a lot of other drivers don't have.
Yeah, and that's, we see some contact entering turn 3 right there. He gets in the back of Liston, but Liston did an amazing save right there. The driver that actually loses ground is going to be Scott, who I believe Brian Johnson went by him. So crazy save by Todd there. But, yeah, absolutely. There's nothing better for a driver on the racetrack than to have fresher tires than those around you. And when you're catching these drivers, you're seeing their car move around, slip and slide while you're still stuck to the racing surface. That's an amazing feeling to have, and I know Scott was feeling great about that, and just had a little bit too much speed on corner entry compared to what Todd was able to carry there.
Yeah, I think he thought he saw the door open, but Liston kind of diamond in there, corner entry, and well, now does the smart thing here, self-preservation. P2 in points. You better get out of the way. You know that guy's got a missile underneath him, and gonna have to see if Negus can go run those guys back down. But out front, Bianchi, he's feeling more comfortable than before we went to caution, JR. It seems like he's got the rhythm back to him, and well, then as soon as I say that, he just had a big slide on the entry to one, and here comes Tom Ogle.
I saw it also. So this is going to be the question. We talk about the tires cooling back down. All of these drivers, they had those tires cool back down, the ones that did not come in and get fresh rubber. The question is, did Brian push too hard too early? Because that almost had a feeling or a look to it like he was shot out of a cannon there and pulled away from Tom early. And then all of a sudden we see him slip. So I'm wondering if he might have overused his tires early, trying to open up a gap. And now he's starting to suffer some of the consequences, and Tom's got the advantage here.
Yeah, Tom was right there. It looked like he almost laid the bumper to him on corner exit. Man, they're going to have to go because I know Brian Johnson got that one spot back. But remember, he had pit early that first set of cautions when Alan Wanamaker and them came in. So Brian sitting P5, he's got a little fresher tires than those four in front of him, and if they keep mixing it up like this here, I mean, he's gonna be there in no time. Zoom out quick, Ryan. You got the top five. Oh, as a caution flag waves, there's a spin out in turn one. I think Brian Neff, I saw the smoke over there. We'll have to see here what happened to Neff as he's rolling down the front stretch of JR. What do we got?
Yeah, so, he's running by himself because of that spin that we had earlier, and it just looks like he carried too much corner entry speed. So these Tour Modifieds, talked about in the opening, they do get loose on corner entry, especially as the tires start to get a little bit heat into them. The rear tires start to get more and more heat into them, and just looked like he carried too much corner entry speed there and just swapped ends on him. And, unfortunately for the rest of the field, that brought out a caution. I think Brian Bianchi is going to be happy because he's going to be able to cool his tires down. But the driver that's not going to be is the one you talked about, Brian Johnson, because he had a huge advantage on these guys.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, actually. I was going to do a little hurt or help segment with you for Brian Johnson and Scott Negus. So you think it hurts them here, allowing those guys to cool off their tires again?
I do. Now, when you cool off your tires this far into a run, you're only going to have speed probably for 5 or 6 laps. So definitely in the closing laps, Johnson and Negus, they're going to have the advantage, but it's going to be the closing lap. So they're going to have 8 or 9 laps to get the job done, I feel like. And it really hurts them because I felt like Johnson was just getting to the back bumper of the car ahead of him, which would have been Luke Logan. I think he was getting ready to make an attack there and would have been able to easily make that pass once he got to the inside or the outside. Now it's going to take him a little while, I think.
And remember here, JR, too, it may be a little anticlimactic for all the sponsors, probably hence why they changed the rule. But, no green, white checkered here tonight. So when we roll around, we got 15 to go this time. The lights do go off. So we'll have 14 laps to left the race here. That is not a lot of time here, man.
It's not, and I feel like based on what we saw this last time, it plays into Brian's hand a little bit if he can get back into focus and into the groove that he was in, because he really pulled away from Tom in the opening laps of that last run. I feel like he's going to absolutely have to do that here because of the short run that we've got. So he's got to go open up a gap and then deal with whatever happens after that.
Bianchi rolls through 3 and 4 here. He drops the hammer one more time. We're back underway. 14 laps to play. 7 miles around the Stafford Motor Speedway. And Tom Ogle knows he wants to win this one. He's got to make his move here quick, and he's going to, JR. Oh, never mind. He hops back in line. He took a peek to the inside. I thought he was going to go for it.
Yeah, he was absolutely thinking about it. Brian took a little bit of an early entry there and said, I'm not going to let you do that without some contact. So Brian being able to hold off that charge, the question is going to be, can he continue to hold off that charge? So Tom's on the attack right now, and Brian has got to open up a gap. He's doing a nice job here through 3 and 4.
Yeah, it seems like Brian, definitely the better car here, these opening 5, 6, maybe even 7 or so laps. Will it leave enough time for Tom to maybe make his run here? I don't know, as Luke Logan Allen gets a little loose there. He comes down in front of Brian Johnson. He goes up to the top now, and Scott Negus thinks about shopping in the basement. And does he have a lane? I'm not sure if he's going to be there coming off the corner.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but Luke Logan made a tremendous save back there on the previous lap. And I tell you, this kid's got tons and tons of talent, and the talent's able to show through even further when he's in a more powerful race car like these Tour mods. So he's really exciting to watch on the racetrack. Always has tons of speed. Right now he's at a disadvantage, but compared to those two drivers that are behind him, they have fresh rubber, and he's really doing everything he can to try to keep them behind.
Well, and Johnson and Negus make a little contact here as we come across the line. 9 laps to go. Negus trying to get every spot he can here. Doesn't want to lose out too much to the man running P2 as they roll out of 4. 8 laps to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Scott, he gets that pass pulled off on Brian Johnson. So now he's going to have to go over and work over Luke Logan to try to move up into, I believe that is the 4th position. We go back up front here. We see the lead. Got about a car length in between our first and second place drivers right now. So Brian really doing what he needs to do right now, but this was about the time during the last run where he started to slip and slide a little bit, and Tom was able to make a charge. I do believe that this is going to be a little bit of a nail biter here at the end, especially if Tom's able to get there with that bumper.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting if Chris can be close enough there in P3. Maybe there's a little contact with the front 2. He can sneak himself in there. I mean, he is right there, but currently Tom Ogle not close enough as we roll through 3 and 4. We got 2.5 miles to go this time by as Negus and Johnson continue to work here. Johnson to the outside.
Yeah, and that's a really big move. I mean, Johnson being able to make a move, this is not a difference in tires. These guys are on the same tires, so being able to make that move on the outside is pretty big, especially when there's not something, slowing up that car up ahead. You see that gap up ahead to Luke Logan, so these guys continuing to battle it out, but in return, they're kind of hurting themselves because the drivers they have the advantage over are those cars in front of them, not the ones that are right there where they're at.
Yeah, but JR, you tried telling them that with 4 laps to go that they need to work together to get up there. Every man for himself here. We are running out of time. 1.5 miles to go, and Bianchi couldn't be feeling much better right now, JR. It seems like he maybe saved a little more, may have pulled our leg here. I mean, he's feeling pretty comfortable. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a huge lead, so we come and get the 2 to go mark here. All he's got to do is just keep that car from getting loose. So he's going to start easing up his corner entry just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit to make sure that car doesn't slip and slide so he does not lose that huge advantage he's got as we come to the white.
The white flag waves 1 lap to play as Bianchi cruises the bottom here through 1 and 2. Not going to do anything crazy here. Light on the throttle. Final time into 3. And Bianchi gonna go perfect here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, leads all 100 laps and brings home the YesterYear Tour Modifieds checkered flag. Your defending champion, JR. It's been a rough start. I mean, that double points race in Daytona, it really put him on the back burner, but he's been able to put together some good finishes and add 1 more to the list.
Absolutely, and this is what you got to do to try to get your season turned around. The smallest bit of momentum can really change your season. Now he's got this win on his side once again. I think this is something that can get him turned around. He could be a big, big contender for this championship late in the season.
Well, we're going to let him do some celebratory donuts here, grab a drink, refresh himself, and we'll come right back here on the Virtual Grip Network with interviews from your top 3 and a final rundown. Stick around. We'll be right back. We're back live on the Virtual Grip Network, and we were treated to a non-stop 100 laps here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. I believe only 2 cautions here this evening, maybe 3 here, but came at interesting times and allowed people to use some strategy to move up through the field. But at the end of the day, the top 2 finished there, and man, Brian Bianchi brought it home. Let's go ahead and take a look at that final finishing order. Brian Bianchi, there you see P1, Tom Ogle P2, Mr. Excitement, Chris Davis P3, Luke Logan Allen 4th, Scott Negus rounds out the top 5, Brian Johnson 6th, Todd Liston 7th, Alan Wanamaker 8th, Jeff Lemire 9th, and the double deuce, Bruce Pearson rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, coming home in 11th place tonight, we got Jerry Isaacs. We saw him have a spin. Ken Allen, another driver with a spin. Randy Schuler, he'll come home in 13th place. Gavin Adams comes home in 14th. Brian Neff had a little bit of a rough night tonight. He'll come home in 15th place. Chris Hazlett will be in the 16th position. Torrance Childs, he is the first car that is 1 lap down in 17th. And Dustin Martinson had to leave the race a little bit early tonight. He'll come home in 18th.
Well, let's go ahead here. Let's see if we can get a word here with our 3rd place finisher, Mr. Chris Davis. Oh, I don't either. He was down in that race channel and then he disappeared. So, well, maybe no Chris Davis. JR, you want to go straight to P2 here?
I guess we'll go to Tom. Hey, Tom, great run tonight coming home P2. I know you had a good qualifying run, but I got to ask, first off, how tricky were these cars to drive here tonight with the hot track temp, for one, but 2, trying to race Brian that entire time? Did you have anything else that you could have done different there?
So after that, when we got to that lap, about every time we got to a caution, I feel like I was starting to work on him a little bit, because he would go into 1 and I think he was heating up his rear tires pretty good to run that line where he clipped the apron. But I couldn't run that line down there. I didn't have the courage to go down on that apron with this car, because if you touch the apron, it loosens the car up something terrible. So you can't really even diamond 1 and 2, because if you come off and put half of a left front on that apron, you're going to spin down the backstretch. So it's a 1 groove track. It's tough.
It absolutely looked like it, and looked like the cars would start to slip and slide if you didn't, take care of your tires throughout that run. But ultimately, it's a good points night for you. You come on D2 and pulled away. Yep. So what are your thoughts as we go further into this season? That lead continues to open up for you.
So I'm looking forward to South Boston. I think I gave one up there when that car pulled up on the track in front of me last time. I've spent the whole summer stewing about that. So I'm ready to get back there. But I really want to win the championship. I was in it last year, but I had to miss a week. So I'm just, if I could get 2nd place and have a good run, I would never knock somebody out of the way to win. And I think at Stafford, I would have had to dive bomb him into 3 or something. And I kind of had a run on him at one point, but I would never knock somebody out of the way to win. So I just want to manage it, not have any disasters, and be there for the last couple races.
I definitely understand. So, hey, you talked about it a little bit going into South Boston the next week. You guys have ran there twice already this season. I know things didn't kind of play out your way during those races. This time we've got the longest race. It's 300 laps next week. So how are you going to be able to manage those 300 laps?
I just got to do some tire runs and see how the tires wear. Once you figure out when to practice, and then you can maybe get some track position and go. There, I like it because you can pass there, and guys will wear out their tires. So, and it's a night race, so it's going to be a little bit faster and a little bit maybe rougher. So I think if you stay clean in the last 50 laps, you'll have a shot at it. Maybe if you stop with 50 to go, because that's like a normal feature for these cars. So that would probably be the optimal time. But I just stay clean the first 200 laps. That's going to be the tough part, because it is tight there. If somebody wrecks on the front stretch and you're behind them, there's nowhere to go. You can't drive through the grandstands or down pit road. So you got to just stay clean there.
Absolutely, that's a tough racetrack, but hopefully things work out next week. We can talk to you again up here in the booth.
Yeah, I would like that.
All right, guys.
All right. Hey,
Tom,
thank you.
Yep, congratulations, man, on that second place run. That's our points leader, guys, Tom Ogle.
Yeah, now I think we're going to do something a little different here. I'm going to take Chris Davis, and then we'll give JR our winner here. But we got Mr. Excitement up here. Chris, Shaggy in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Shaggy. What's going on, man?
Well, I'll tell you, man, it seemed like there with about 10 laps to go. I mean, you were all over the back of Tom Ogle there on that final restart, and it looked like you were going to make a move for P2. But then it seemed like all of you guys, man, not to single any of you out, but those old tires, it seemed like they caught up with you pretty fast after they cooled or reheated back up after the cool down. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, you know, JR Shepard was probably expecting me to put the chrome horn there to Tom in front of me. I wasn't going to do it. I've calmed down a bit, and that's not really how we race here with the BRL or even the YesterYear, even though that was the 13 ahead of me, and that's what Teddy Christopher was known for. Yeah, the tires are definitely wearing out. I felt like Ogle and Bianchi were better on a short run than me. You know, even though these are fixed setups, I think it's just the way we have different driving styles. And I was having some PC issues leading in, so you probably saw I didn't get a whole lot of practice laps there and was kind of figuring out as we were on the fly. And then I realized I didn't have a button to move my brake bias around, so I was trying to grab a mouse and do it that way. So there's a whole lot happening inside the car that you guys didn't see, but I kept her straight for most of the while, and I only had like 58% left on that right rear, so I was definitely using it up.
Yeah, I can tell you, speaking from experience, that is no fun having to reach over and find that mouse when your brake bias button isn't working. So the fact that you're able to control that thing and keep it out there, let alone bring it home P3, that's a heck of a run, Chris. So now next week, you know, you mentioned you're one of the better guys here on the tire wear. We're going 300 laps at South Boston, man. You think you can go out there and compete for the win next week?
I don't know. I don't know that 300 laps, boy, that's going to be a long time. You know, the funny thing about finding a mouse is I'm in VR as well. So to try and find a mouse when you don't even know where it is. But I got it. That'll be fun. South Boston is one of my favorite tracks. I don't think it'll be as hard for me on tires. And there's things that I do with the brake pedal that helps me out a lot. When the tires start to wear out. That's all I'll say about it, but there's things that you can do to try and limit wheel slip.
Well, hey, congratulations on a good run, Chris. Way to bring home P3. You got anybody you want to thank before we kick you out of here?
Well, you know, I see Ryan's up in the booth. He always does an amazing job with the levers and sliders with great cameras. JR Shepard brings an incredible amount of talent behind the wheel and then is able to articulate it behind the microphone. Shaggy, you bring a whole lot of color, so I want to thank all of you guys up there with what you're doing. Of course, VGN for broadcasting this. The league, I think this is just a really, really cool setup, trying to recreate things that happened in the past and make it real-life racing. You know, what I think is going to be cool about South Boston, I got to thank the fact that we have the rules that we do, because you can grab tires. And even though it's a short track, I think tires could come into it there, depending on how the cautions play out. And then I got to thank my teammate, who's not in this league with me, John Wilson, is part of continuous development racing. We're out there trying to get better, not only in our racecraft every day, but in our personal lives as well. So in a world where you can be anything, Shaggy, be kind.
Hell of a run, Chris. Keep up that positive attitude, man. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, man.
Now JR is going to talk to our race winner here. Who you got?
I'm with Brian Bianchi here. Hey, Brian, man, big run tonight. Started from the pole, led every single lap, but there were some charges there by Tom during the race. Talk to us. How difficult was it trying to keep him behind you, but also trying to take care of your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Tom is, what could you say about Tom? He's an excellent competitor, and I was trying to manage the gap, and every once in a while going into one, the car would kind of slide up, get a little loose. You know, made a couple mistakes, but other than that, I don't think he would have got by me. 1 and 2, the center, I just rolled that really, really good all night. So, great car.
Absolutely, looked like you had the field under control. So I've got to ask. So you've got 3 wins now on the season. That's huge. That's tied for the most. All right. So I gotta ask you. You've had rough races in the other races so far. You've got some ground to make up in the points. Does this give you the momentum you think to make a late charge here throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, it absolutely helps after the summer break to get one and kind of put yourself back into the fight. So we'll see where this puts us in points, and we'll keep going next week to South Boston, where I won, I think, last race there. So we're pretty good there too, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to touch on that before I let you go. I think you won a race there earlier in the year, and it was a 150 lap race. Next week we do 300 laps. Are you going to have to do anything a little bit different in order to get the job done next week?
Probably have to stop for fuel at some points. Last time I didn't pit at all. And this is going to be a night race, so tires will be even better there. So maybe take a stop halfway, get some fuel, a couple tires, and go back at it.
That sounds like a plan, Brian, man. Hopefully we get to talk to you once again. Hopefully you're up there on the top of the podium next week.
Yeah, I hope so. I got to dedicate this race tonight to one of my racing family. We lost him a couple weeks ago, Timmy Fleming, but this one's for Tim.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. And hopefully, man, once again, we'll talk to you next week. Hope you put on a show like you did tonight.
Thanks, JR. Appreciate it.
All right, Shaggy. That was Brian Bianchi. He was our winner tonight here at Stafford.
Yeah, and it seems like, we were asking those guys about the 300 laps, man, and they aren't as worried about the tires because it's going to be a night race. Do you think they're right that it's going to have their back? Tires shouldn't be an issue, maybe just fuel?
It's definitely going to make a difference. It does allow you to manage the tire temperatures a little bit better. The tire grip is going to be higher naturally just because the track temp's going to be a little bit lower, so it does play into their favor. And like Brian said last time he was there, he only made one stop. So potentially you can extend that out and run even further this time. So you're going to have to stop for fuel, it does sound like, in these cars in order to make it the whole 300 laps. But you're probably going to stop that one time. You're only going to get the fuel that you absolutely need, and you may only take right side tires in order to get some track advantage. So I do believe that the tires won't be as critical, but you're still going to have grip there in the race. So you're going to have grip and track position. It's going to be a balance, Shaggy. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things. I do not think it's going to be a straightforward race.
Well, before we shut everything down here, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at what's coming up the rest of the week. You got the Five Flag Speedway Thursday. You got me Sunday night at the Darlington Raceway. And then once again, we talked to those guys back at South Boston here. Man, we're at South Boston a couple times. Tuesday, Saturday next week. Boy, oh boy, South Boston here on the Virtual Grip Network. But that's going to do it here for the YesterYear Tour Modifieds. I'd like to thank my partner, JR Shepard, the dude in the back, Ryan Seneca, and last but not least, we want to thank all of you for tuning in. Have a great night. And remember, college football's back, baby.